All right, so welcome to Vibe Osmosis. Go ahead and introduce yourself and what you do.
My name is Dustin Wong. I play music, create music. Um, I perform around LA. Grew up in Japan. Um, was part of the Baltimore scene uh, in my early 20s, and then dabbled in the DIY scene in New York and also the music scene in Japan afterwards. And now, yeah, I'm here in LA.
And also, after the transition, how does it affect your music?
It always, when the environment changes, it changes your kind of trajectory or like process. Um, Living in Tokyo, it's a different type of isolation
Definitely. Yeah.
and and a different kind of quiet, um, which uh interestingly, like artists and musicians there call it the Galapagos Island effect, where artists are so isolated they become thickened by their own expression. And, you know, there's not much external stimuli. It's all kind of coming from within. There's like benefits to that, and also, I think, um, damaging effects to that too. And then moving here, there was so much more of a correspondence between artists, sharing of ideas, sharing of technique, things like that. And in that way, it's like a different stimulus where you're getting this external stimuli and you're being influenced and inspired. Um, and right now I live near downtown Los Angeles,
Okay.
I'm at this intersection, and there's a lot of noise and less quiet, but inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, to bring up that, why I asked that, you've changed up your sound, I feel like, for perpetual morphosis, or am I
Mhm.
saying that right? Morphosis?
I That's how I pronounce it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I've seen you play live more than a few times, and it seems like this particular project it kind of ties in with like different themes and elements besides like what you've done in the past, especially with like layering up different stuff. Was that kind of like something that you had like as a goal in mind, or is that kind of something that happened with the change in the time too? Because you kind of transitioned quite a bit in the last like since like
Mm.
2018 before COVID and stuff like that too, especially with your music now.
Yeah, I think so. When I moved here, I did have the same equipment, like my keyboards and my guitar and my pedals, basically. Things changed a little bit since then,
Mm.
where um, I've always had this kind of awareness that my music is uh, it's square in a sense. It's square for sure. Where there's an obtuseness um, where I'm confused whether it's uh, is this the right poetic move, or is this the subtlety that this music needs? It's like all that stuff is kind of not was not a part of me,
Right.
and it's been a refinement and exploration process since since this musical journey. um so with the equipment I had, it felt more like this kind of Joe Meek or kind of tongue-in-cheeky kind of. I may be giving myself a disservice, but yeah. But since that, being here in LA, like there is a fluidity in the air. There in culture, there's a diversity, and I rather my music has been looping and layering, and it's always been this stacking vertically, and I wanted it to sprawl, kind of let it spill out more in a circumference rather than it being more geometric.
Definitely. No, listening to it, especially with like stereo headphones and also like through speakers, I think it's one of those ones where it's like kind of an immersive things. And I was like wondered like whenever you play live, how you kind of show what you're doing. Do you kind of have songs where you wish it still had like that like what you did live per se from the recorded version? Do you kind of ever have that battle?
Well, it's all part of the process, like the show, like the sets I play live, like that's how I practice at home. It's
Okay.
improvising on motifs, ideas that are ideas that are established but that can be reinterpreted.
Definitely, yeah.
And then through those recordings of that, if there is a moment where I was like, oh, this is something I've never done, I'll keep that in a bank or, like a folder.
Yeah.
And I edit those things and come up with a new idea. And then I layer ideas on top. And that most of the times becomes part of like an album or
Okay.
a release.
Whenever you're working on music too, do you kind of like space out like not rushing things, or do you still kind of like to operate of like getting like once you record it, getting it on the move to get the song done? Or do you like to sit on things and like reflect and move?
It changes from time to time.
Okay.
Like during the pandemic, there was a moment where it was just felt I was like releasing stuff on Bandcamp, and that turnaround was really quick. Like it felt very inspired and like instant.
Okay.
And then I, oftentimes, the next step, sometimes, there will be moments where it's like really easy, really simple. It's like breathing.
Hmm.
But then the next moment it becomes very difficult. And I think, I don't know if you remember going from single digit multiplication to double digit multiplication. It was like,
Amen. Yes.
that was a huge hurdle, right?
Yeah.
There's something similar to it with each album.
Mm. Right now too, do you kind of like find artists that you're like seeking out to gain for inspiration, or do you still like let like whatever kind of you're listening to like help navigate what you want to do whenever you get to making your own music?
Definitely. There's so many. A lot of obscure musicians and composers. This guy, especially he's living in France right now, but he's British. This guy, Will Mentor, Menter.
Okay.
There is a track called Out of Phase. It's like a 9-minute track. I think you can find it if you just type it in Google or something. But just the kind of sporadic yet repetitive and percussive elements that he presents in his music is very there's something very sublime about it, serene about it, and yeah, I enjoy that space. And I also like looking into like jazz musicians, but like in their mid-career,
Okay.
uh, um, like jazz musicians that maybe were like young in their 20s, in the 70s or the 60s, but then like what were they making in the 80s and 90s? You know, like when MIDI and electronics were introduced, and
Yeah,
um, some of it's very cheesy, but like you've kind of sensed the potential in that too.
definitely.
Um, because like I'm feeling like, you know, I'm middle aged, and so I kind of want to kind of study and kind of respect like musicians in their middle point, you know?
Right, yeah, not like oh, their early stuff was the best stuff or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you find like bands that you think like, oh, it was just this one album or this one song and the rest, like, it doesn't sit well with me, or not to like throw any like bigger guys underneath the bus, but like for me, like Van
Uh-huh.
Halen, I was like, wow,
Uh-huh.
Van Halen, you can do really intricate guitar stuff, but whenever you put the synthesizer in the guitar, it's a hit or miss.
Sure, sure. Um, I mean, these days, like what you would call misses, I just feel neutral about it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, but there is music that makes me cringe for sure. Like, you know, like there's a lot of pop music and country music right
Yeah.
now that it really makes me, it gives me a physical reaction where I get nauseous and things like that. But
Typical.
when it comes to like artists that, you know, I've enjoyed,
Yeah.
um like it might not be better than the last record, but it's just kind of okay, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they're doing it, you know. They're in the process.
That is one thing. And to bring a process, do you like to do the recording aspects, or do you kind of like to do the editing, the after, like what kind of process, do you like most enjoy whenever it comes to your own music?
Um well, these days it's almost, there is an editing aspect in the live performance where I'm using 4 loop pedals. So, you know, sometimes I might have an established loop, fade it out, but then start fading it in sporadically and bouncing it onto the next looper. And so abstracting something that's established into turning it into something else. Um, and so editing it on like a DAW, like a Logic or whatever,
Yeah.
it becomes more tedious because, but it is kind of, it feels more like I'm like playing, uh, I'm doing a puzzle or a Sudoku or something where I'm trying to find the connective tissues within the recording,
Yeah.
and so I can like put it together.
And also like with the whole looping and the pedal stuff, before did you like have like an artist that like inspired you to try to do your own thing, or was it like, oh, I got this pedal and I kept on adding on pedals? Like what kind of helped navigated you towards where it made it easier to make music?
Well, it started around, well, that's really interesting because like I was introduced to it maybe in high school, at the end, like maybe junior year, senior year, where a friend got a free music software for his Windows desktop,
Nice.
and he was like, plug this guitar in, and I just started playing. He recorded a phrase. He's like, play on top, and then I started playing on top, and I was like, wow, actually make something, and then moving to Baltimore, starting to do these bands. When I did Ecstatic Sunshine, we were interested in kind of like minimalist composers and like basic, but with like guitar, like Glenn Branca and Reese Chatham.
Okay.
And yeah, but then we went to an Animal Collective show at this venue called the Auto Bar, and this band called Growing. They're from New York, I think, and they're a duo, electronics and guitar. And that set in particular was basically a drone set, but just building and creating this massive chord that. And seeing that, it was for me. It was better than. No offense, it was better than Animal Collective set, and well, I enjoyed it at the time more.
Yeah.
And so it started with like delay pedals, with like the hold function, and then it started growing more, where like we were all starting to get interested in like German music from the 70s, like Cluster and Harmonia and the krautrock stuff.
Very sweet.
And that's where I started to invest in a loop pedal.
Okay. Do you remember your first loop pedal?
It was the Boss, the RC3, the single pedal.
Those are very sweet. One thing about like the looping, kind of whenever you started doing like your own shows on the side, did you kind of ever have moments whenever you messed up the loop, but you kept with it, kept going and building?
It's more like I have to disrupt it once again, where I won't, because I know it's gonna just be this train wreck.
Yeah.
So you add these gestures, with whatever you have, like whatever instrument you have, and you have to kind of create these punctuations that almost acknowledge the mistake to the audience. It's like, yes, I made a mistake, but I won't say I'm gonna start over. I'm gonna let my instrument say that.
Yeah. One other question I have about Fluid World Building 101 with Sean Bamboo. Yes.
Yes.
What inspired this session, and was a shaman really involved?
No, it's it was right when all this AI stuff was happening, with like the first image generated by like Deep Dream, and all the videos that were coming out of that, and I was getting really obsessed with it, and in that line, of like worlds just emerging almost out of nothing.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it was a story. It was like a narrative where the protagonist, you, are dropped into this world and are, this shaman Bamboo in a car, like picks you up, takes you on a ride.
Yeah.
And kind of shows them the ropes of how to make worlds, which we all have.
Definitely. And also, like, was there like a sort of goal whenever you're like trying to like have like certain songs fit on tape? Because I've seen that you did some of these physical releases. Did you kind of like have that in mind, like to do a physical release, or was it like, I'm going to go ahead and create from this inspiration and figure out like the next stuff later?
Yeah, I try to complete an album before I think about that stuff.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of lets down like oh, I don't need like a quota of having 12 songs or whatever to make sure it fits this time frame and stuff.
Yeah.
It's one thing I've really been curious about your music because it seems it can go anywhere. And I also, not to put it lightly, the experimentation of it seems very organized and constructed. And I've wondered if that was kind of from using the gear so much and practicing that you like have like a natural instinct about what's going to work for you.
It's definitely, whatever equipment or gear, instrument, it's like by practicing, you're trying to develop a second nature, or what you, like you said, the things that feels like instinctual.
Yeah.
Wait, can you iterate your question again? I'm sorry.
I got a famous one for you, okay? This is my favorite vibe osmosis. So if you're stranded on an island and you could only take one thing with you, what would you take?
Oh, wow. Does the island have anything on there? Food?
It could be your own fantasy island. I'm not gonna throw any holes in it.
One thing.
That's tough.
It is tough. Probably a kitchen.
A kitchen. Yeah, at least you'll survive with the kitchen.
Yeah.
That's very clever. And to bring up like this because I feel like that always comes to me from like these catastrophe movies and like natural devastation, where it's like always survival instinct 101. Are you like a fan of like film? Are you a movie person?
I enjoy them. Yeah.
You enjoy them. All right. So like, what kind of movies and stuff we typically go for?
I love science fiction.
Science fiction. Have you watched any good sci-fi? I've watched the latest show, The Last Man on Earth.
Right. Is that the HBO show?
It's. I think it is HBO. Yeah. Or Apple.
But it's like, the SNL guy.
Yeah. 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 Also, another one I've watched on HBO is Raised by Wolves.
Oh yes. I know of it. I haven't seen it, but
Very good. It's wild.
To me, I really had a great experience with, like, it's a cartoon, but Fiona and Apple. It's like the adventure.
Oh, yeah.
Or Fiona and Cake.
Yeah, it's a new one.
Yeah. I thought that was beautiful.
You finished it already?
Yeah. Made me cry.
I need to catch up. I'm also a fan of the Adventure Time, and also like the stuff that Adult Swim has been doing lately too. They seem to keep mixing it up. I've seen the ambient swim stuff where it's like a lot of different visual stuff, and they bring on different artists. Whenever you're working on your music, do you ever, after you finish a song, are you thinking like, what can I do for this visually? Or you kind of like, I'll leave this to the collaborators?
I do. I mean, the perpetual morphosis, like, the images came from my work, my artwork, and it's like visuals that I made, and well, I didn't really, it wasn't initially thought of where I was gonna use the visuals for the music, but it kind of just happened. But yeah, I make, not as much these days, but I used to experiment with video stuff way more, and be kind of thinking about that potential. I'm making stuff in my mind, like, I have these ideas, but yeah, I'll probably end up trying stuff out too.
Shooting something out for us. So with sci-fi and animation, do you have like a top like anime films or like a top like sci-fi movies for you too?
I mean, man, that's so tough. There's some because I really enjoy anime as well. And I've seen so many. Um, Sci-fi. I mean, the original Blade Runner. Can't really
Mm,
beat that. The director's cut.
yes.
I went to go see it in a screening where they use PA speakers, so they're like, you know, blaring it out like super loud, and you could feel the Vangelis soundtrack panning across the room. It was so good. And for animation, I feel, you know, might have to be. I always go back to Kiki's Delivery Service.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was to say those Miyazaki's are instant classics, and I wouldn't say there's not one that I wouldn't recommend to anybody that hasn't even took a dive on these kind of films. Um, are you excited for this latest one that's coming out? I know it's
um,
not out yet officially for us.
I'm not. I don't get like crazy excited about movies like these
Yeah,
days. Like, you know, when I saw the trailer for Jurassic Park when I was like 9,
yeah.
you know, I was like, I can't die. That was my thought. I was like, I cannot die before I watch this movie.
Right.
And you know, those feelings don't really pop up as much these days. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch it.
What about with like music or artists? Like if like you ever get really excited about somebody putting out a new release or project, or is it like I'll still catch it or hope I see the show? You know what I mean?
Yeah, my level of anticipation, I don't know, it's just I've kind of lost it these days. Like I just go and then I see and then I enjoy. That's kind of how I've been going about it.
I've still been having like my friends will shoot me, stuff that came out a couple years ago, and I'm like, I had no idea. Like, one of the recent ones was the latest Lou Reed like reissue of like songs that were never heard, and I got that on tape finally, and that was also like, yeah, like there's, I'm a big fan, but it's not like I'm going to always seek out or know whenever there's these drops. I feel like with movies it's a little bit half and half because you see so much advertisement for the bigger blockbuster films and stuff. Did you go and see Barbie or Oppenheimer?
I went and saw Barbie.
Okay.
I saw that. I think I saw the trailer. Actually, you know, that movie got me
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
That trailer got me excited. Yeah, yeah. I
That
saw
one
the trailer and I was like, oh, I definitely got to see this.
you gotta see it, and also it's like you didn't even know what to expect, even though you seen the trailer. It's like it's still fresh water. And also I wondered if like going out to shows and that kind of stuff, is that something that you still like to do or enjoy?
I do enjoy it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love going to. I love shows where I'm not playing. You know.
That's right. Yeah. I feel like whenever you do play, there's like a level of anticipation of like goals or expectations to meet,
Sure.
or still like that outer body experience of like, oh, I actually have to present this the way that I'd like it to be presented. Whenever you get ready for a show, is there anything that you do?
There's definitely nerves where I'm kind of there's an anxiety and um, you know, your body feels like it's vibrating or something.
Yeah.
But but it's not intense to the point where it's debilitating. You know,
Yeah.
it can sometimes translate into energy or excitement, or just focus. And but I like to chew gum while I play.
Okay.
Um, it keeps me focused. And try not to eat as much right before.
Yeah. Or there's people, they might throw up in the middle of the set. You're like, all right, I'm gonna have to call it quits.
You end up playing very slowly.
Yeah, true. Tired.
Mhm.
I'm like always thinking before a show, how do you feel? How do you feel about like weed? Are you like a fan of smoking weed or edibles or anything?
Mhm.
All right, so do you think if you do it before a show, it does kind of spoil the moment?
I don't smoke before playing.
Yeah, even whenever you practice at home or whatever, like not like for people.
Very, very rarely. Yeah.
Very rarely, yeah. Yeah, so do you think that it spoils something for you? Because like I mean for me personally, whenever I make music, it's a lot better whenever it's coming from a fresh place and you're having to put out a lot of that energy. And
Mhm.
there's also times whenever, if you're high, it's a little bit loose in so many senses.
I like to use it when it comes to making stuff. It's for retrospection,
Yeah.
for review. Like if you recorded something that day, or you edited something that day, mix something. That's when I'll smoke it, and then listen and see, like look for the flaws,
Yeah.
um, find the parts that feel good, because your ears are at a different level when you're like smoking.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm able to, you know, I think I've learned a lot from it where I can hear it even when I'm sober now.
That's right. One of my other questions. This one's like a fun vibe osmosis question. Like if you had your last meal, what would your last meal be? Like your ultimate favorite foods? What all would you go for?
Am I getting executed?
Well, I mean, we could just say it's your last day on Earth.
Oh, okay. um. Hmm. That's a good question. It might have to be like a burger of my own making,
Awesome.
with like I have access to all the ingredients.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just say nothing beats making burgers at home, especially when you have everything you need.
It'll
Are
be
you?
like, huh?
Yeah, are you like a fan of bacon?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, are you a bacon burger person or not?
I love bacon burgers, so
All right.
I think it would be like a bun, mayo, mustard, the meat, thick patty,
Yeah.
lettuce, tomato, grilled onions, bacon, and if it's my last meal, I'm gonna make it really unhealthy, like a lot of cheese, foie gras,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
like some truffle like oil,
Mm.
and of course ketchup, and hey, make it a double patty.
All right, so do you have like something that you really enjoy about LA that's brought you to where you're at right now? Something that you find out you like go on walks or always go to a place and check out?
I do. I really like, the parks here. The musicians here, my friends here. Like a lot of, so many talented people, just like sharing the ideas, that stuff's really what makes it fun. But yeah, I have a bicycle, so I do bike around like the downtown area, and I really enjoy that. Like, my favorite area of that is the fashion district where they sell all these textiles, and the flower district that's right next door. It's kind of that's kind of my favorite.
Here's kind of going back to your music. Do you have like unreleased music that you're wanting to get out there, or do you just kind of work on the next project as it comes?
That's a good question. There are some. There's like a CDR that I made when I was like 19, and I have some of those tracks, and that might be fun to release, again. And then there are some unreleased stuff that I'm just like, no, people don't need it. I don't need this.
And this is also like one of the awesome and vibe Osmosis questions. Like favorite artists, bands of all time that you still listen to today, no matter what.
Let's see. Might be the Ventures, the surf rock band. It's like it's like they really left a mark in Japan. Like out of all the surf bands, like they were the one to make it big in Japan, and there's something like the melodies they make and the way they play, like it's very much in parallel to traditional shamisen music. It's like a stringed instrument, and the melodies like it's major, but like sometimes it feels minor, and the poetry of that is something that I really enjoy. It's that disparate cultures can share melodies and timbres and the air,
Yeah. Well, I really do appreciate you spending this time on Vibe Osmosis. It's about cutting it on time, so
Okay.
I really do appreciate you spending this time and answering some questions. Did you have any questions for me before we go?
What do you do?
All right, so I play music for fun.
Okay.
But I mean, a hobby of mine, I'd say, is like, I've always been really interested in interviewing people that I listen to and aspire to, and also getting like the different perspective that you don't always get from like traditional interviews. So that's kind of one of the bigger things behind Vibo.
Cool.
And also based in Ohio now, although I've been like a nomad person.
Oh, okay. Where in Ohio?
Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and stop us on this one.